Hello, hello, and welcome to Non Sequitur News for September 13th, 2024, Season 3, Episode 257. This is a time machine episode because Mayor Watt had mayoral duties last night. Oh, I'm Mayor Watt. And that visualizer right there, and the voice you hear is that of the Sentient AI from the future.
Welcome, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Non Sequitur News.
I don't know why you seem really quiet to me. That's my thing, not you. So, let's get into today. 1 second here. Let me make sure that I do this. Okay. So today we're going to be talking about whiskey shot sipping, Hollywood rule book, jurors detain fleeing person, boar's head closes a plant, Boeing blows out tires, about that semi-fire from Tesla, bite blocking fabrics, part falls into a school parking lot, new beanless coffee, and U.S. opens Honey Deuce, which I feel weird saying out loud. I don't know why. Just seems weird. I'm actually trying to do something while I'm talking. Well, here, let's do this.
How's that working out?
Not well. I'm distracted, and people, as much as you think that you can multitask, you can't. Yeah, so I didn't put the show notes into the bot, so yeah. I'm gonna do this. Oh, I can't do it. I'll have to do it after the show. Anyway, I don't like doing it after the show, but I'm gonna have to. Or I'll do it like this. It'll be one big blob in the bot. How about that?
Sounds
yes,
like a good
production value
plan.
at an all-time high for today's episode. Wonder what that looks like. We'll see. All right, folks. Focus. Mayor Watt is already falling off the rails here. It's not really a news and brews episode. Maybe the next episode will be a news and brews episode. First article, though,
Not sure
will
a time
be...
machine will ever be news and brews.
Why are you so quiet? I don't get it. You're really quiet when you first start talking. It has to be a configuration thing. And that's going to drive me nuts. Because you start out really quiet and then you get loud. Anyway.
Okay, here we go.
Hey, there you go. Okay, so the very first article is over on the Marble channel, the 15 best whiskeys for shots, sipping, and mixing cocktails. The Ark of the Covenant whiskey is not. Seeking or searching for the best whiskeys may feel like staring into an overwhelming void, but with all its choice and often high price of admission, it's more of a wonderland with more variety than could possibly be imagined. Black cherries, ripe bananas, Mexican vanilla, cinnamon, and clove. If the author of this article were grossly irresponsible, why, they could say whiskey is a completely balanced diet. It has all of the food groups.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's exactly what the FDA is thinking.
That is exactly. I don't know what you're talking about. That's exactly what it's looking for, isn't it? I mean,
I don't think they want only liquids, for one thing.
hey, if only murders in the building can have nothing but dips, so no solid food, then if I want to just do whiskeys, it hits all of the food groups, right? The banana food group, the cherry food group. There's even wood, so I'm getting fiber. I might have this all wrong. Anyway, the article is over at Vice.com by Matt Janser. The deck statement says, these are the best whiskeys, from Kentucky bourbon to peaty scotch, plus top shelf Japanese.
And that's not the name Petey.
Peaty?
That's what it sounds like, probably on the podcast.
Oh, yeah. So peaty as in the peat from bogs kind of peat. Plus top shelf Japanese unique blends and more. That's not everything that was in that in the deck statement. We added a whole lot of commentary in there. So they make a list. Best all-around bourbon, 4 Roses single barrel. It's actually pretty good. I've had it. People-pleasing Irish whiskey is Teeling small batch. I wonder if they have my favorite in here, which is Tullamore Dew. Although I have a whole bunch of other. Canoe is another one. That's
It doesn't look like it's listed.
It is not. Yeah, but people-pleasing Teeling small batch. Non-smoky Scotch is Macallan 12-year. A versatile rye whiskey is George Dickel rye whiskey. A tasty bourbon for all occasions is Buffalo Trace. Top shelf Japanese whiskey is Nika whiskey from the barrel as opposed to from the garden hose. I'm sure that that's not a very pleasing shelf stable version.
That's not a very good statement for marketing purposes.
That's right. Nika whiskey from the garden hose. Oddly enough, that's probably how some of it is transferred. Not necessarily a garden hose, but just a hose from one place to another because massive amounts. Smooth and lovely. Smooth and lovely.
That's because it's Irish.
Smooth and lovely premium
like lovely
Irish whiskey.
is very used in Ireland.
Oh yeah, lovely. Yeah. Mostly for tea though. Oh, and anything else really. That's lovely. They always say that's lovely. Yep. Look at the Try channel on YouTube. Great show.
Right,
Fun
you
show.
could count up multiple instances in one episode usually.
Yeah, true. Red Breast 12-year. Old Forester 1920 is like marshmallows on a campfire. Best smoky and peated. Scotch is Ardbeg 10-year. Scotch and bourbon had a baby. Kings County peated bourbon. Sweet and non-smoky Scotch for mixing cocktails is Monkey Shoulder, which, no. It's actually
this
on the shelf.
calls into question some other content in this article.
Right? Yeah, Monkey Shoulder, I thought it was pretty harsh. The sleeper bourbon hit is Russell's Reserve 10-year. The wild champion of shots is Wild Turkey 101. Strong but sweet is Baker 7. And bourbon kissed by the blue or the deep blue is Jefferson's Ocean Aged at Sea. This is actually like a phenomenon kind of a thing. They actually put it in barrels, take it out to the sea, float around for something like 6 months or something like that, and then bring it back.
Interesting. I think we did an article on that or something similar.
Yeah, for sure we did. So yeah, I've had 4 Roses, but I don't think I've got that in the whatchamacallit?
Mayoral Mansion.
The Mayoral Mansion, yeah. You're not even supposed to be able to do that. Anyway, nobody heard or saw that. Anyway, they go line by line, drink by drink through this. I think the Nika whiskey has the greatest bottle. It looks like a hip flask more than anything.
It really does.
Red Breast actually has these red topped bottles that have a blue, it's a blue bottle, but or not blue. What the hell am I talking about? It's a green bottle.
I'm like, is it a different variety than what I see here in the article?
Sorry, hold on. Wait. Here.
This is becoming a news and brews.
Yeah. That is actually what I just drank was a wheat beer that wheat brewed. And Sentient AI is in charge of the fermentation, so
stand back.
It's a smart fermentation vessel. Anyway, follow the I think one of the other bottles that's really neat is the Red Breast bottle. It looks like one of the old like grog bottles or I should say it looks like a rum bottle that a pirate would have, and I am a pirate at heart. Like the Old Forester one here in 1920 when I was born. Anyway, a lot of these actually are really neat bottles now that I see them all. Anyway, wow, that one's really cool. Baker 7 looks really cool.
Oh yeah, that one looks kind of like the Nika.
Yeah, and it looks like an old-timey bottle, like a medicine bottle. It's pretty cool. It's probably it's at 53.5% alcohol. Anyway, totally dig this stuff. I actually have a couple of shows that are kind of perpetually in development because I just can't I can't do more shows. I need co-hosts and hosts. So if you're interested in hosting or co-hosting a show, just get in touch. Send an email to mayor@ohmTown.com. Okay, we got to keep moving. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Hollywood's new rule book, no risky shows. That's because they've taken too many punches to the chin.
Yeah, and they only seem to want to have like well-known cast and like super like established franchises.
Yep. And this is actually something that's really interesting that I see. What's kind of funny is I had been thinking about this with music too, and then what's his name did a segment about it. Beato. So Beato just did dropped a video about this because it isn't bands anymore that people are listening to. It's always individuals, and it's been this pivot since the 90s. That's what he came to the conclusion to. And then in this video that he dropped, he basically said out of the top 500 from Spotify, top 400 from Spotify, only 3 groups exist in the last 10 years. Everything else precedes, or it's all singletons. And the way that I see it is everybody can basically just spin up, and he brings light to this too, but it's stuff that I've been thinking about. With AI, you're removing even the music creation aspect of it, but I can create music with it and then modify it. But I don't need a full band, right? Technology is wiping out the complexity and cost and personality conflicts and all of that.
That's true. Oh, yes. I don't know if we have one in our show today about that.
Not in this show, but so this is a time machine episode, and then we're going to do Non Sequitur News for the 14th.
So I must have been in my future mode.
It is. Yep. So Hollywood production, basically what it's coming down to is there's too many. It's too complex to have all of these people that are deciding the fate of success because the band starts crumbling due to personality conflicts. And then on top of that, it's cheaper. It's not just the personality conflicts and stuff, it's cheaper. So that's what's happening with this. They want to remove all of that.
There's fewer people to share profits with if they're doing songwriting, or I guess on the actor side, obviously. Yep. From the studio, that's the same idea.
Yeah. Meanwhile, they all complain that there's not enough money. I'm not making enough money. Well, there's 14 artists that are signed onto this as the writers, and the musician, the actual singer, doesn't make as much as all of the writers because, well, the singers know that without the writers, they can't create enough content to be, filthy rich. But overall, yeah, everybody is making money. Just some of them are complaining about streaming versus, well, go to a concert and sell.
Right.
That's where the money has always been, at the concert. Anyway, Hollywood production is resuming post-strike, but faces increased risk aversion. Media companies are prioritizing broad appeal, ongoing dramas, reboots over original titles. We even end up talking about that. We're going to do Non Sequitur News, and then another Non Sequitur News, and then the continuity report. But I can only do those 3 today, and then tomorrow we're going to reevaluate, and maybe... we're definitely going to do Non Sequitur News tomorrow as well. That's on the 14th, and on the 15th, we're going to do, another Non Sequitur News. I'm in the time machine. Anyway, so the article is over at Business Insider. Lucia Moses over at businessinsider.com put the article together. Hollywood's new rule book. no risky shows. Apparently that's Nicole Kidman, appears in Netflix's new The Perfect Couple. I didn't know she was back until recently.
Oh, she's been all over the place.
Right.
But you're right, it has been kind of recent.
Yeah. So even A-listers struggle to sell projects, though indie films may benefit from current conditions, and that's what we've been seeing. Indie developers in the software side, indie musicians, indie movies are all rising, as opposed to the old school entrenched media. So it says, to hear agents, lawyers, and producers tell it to Hollywood they're going back to is more risk averse than ever, because basically they want a win so that they don't have to struggle to do more. They are doing less. And as I showed with movie theaters, they're releasing less by fewer numbers of movie companies in fewer theaters.
Right, mergers and acquisitions, and then constrained showings.
Yep, and then there's fewer screens. So everything is higher priced, but they're still hitting record profits because of that ratio, that it's more than doubled in pricing in the last 20 years. So tracking company Prod Pro found the total number of production filming in the US is up over 2023, when the strike depressed production, but declined 37% in the first half of 2024 versus the same period in 2022. The spending tighter than ever as media companies race to make streaming profitable. The word going around is undeniable. What's selling is more blue sky stuff that can be watched anywhere. You don't want to watch season 1 to watch season 2, said one agent, like who some others in this story asked for anonymity when discussing private talks. We're seeing less limited series, less period pieces that are hard to justify. Ongoing dramas are definitely in demand, stuff that will appeal to a broad audience. A second agent described how stars are learning to humble themselves in new ways by showing up in pitches and ingratiating themselves to Warner Brothers Discovery chief David Zaslav and Amazon MGM Studios head Jennifer Salk. So I guess
that's interesting, because I didn't think the agents were part of the pitching process. I mean, the actors were part of the pitching process at all.
If the actor is on board with the agent and they want that gig for themselves, and the agent is like, yeah, I have a insider that is like A-list, then yeah, I'm not surprised, because it isn't well, maybe I can get this actor to do it. They're already there, holding the script in their hand. Yeah, let's go to pitch meeting. You know, that
that's
YouTube
like
show.
Only Murders in the Building.
Yeah, exactly.
And pitch meeting too. Yeah. No spoilers though.
Margot's Got Money Troubles, starring Elle Fanning and Nicole Kidman, and David E. Kelly. Big Little Lies, 9 Perfect Strangers, which Apple snapped up. David E. Kelly is hotter now than he's ever been, because they know that he's going to deliver, the first agent said. They basically don't want and can't risk any flops. And when it happens, they cut it fast. So
right, it's not good news for somebody doing a low budget film or indie, which is probably one and the same.
Yeah, so this just ends up the same thing as business. You know, mergers and acquisitions, loss of opportunities, and the whole, everybody is going to suffer, because you're only going to get the same few actors that seem to rise to the top. So we'll have to see what the next 5 to 10 years actually shakes out. But I hope that indies rise to power and start disarming all of these mergers and acquisitions. But I can already see it. They're only big companies own streaming platforms, so you're only going to be able to get something that they buy into, and that means giving up profits, rights, and so on. Even if you're an indie, you're not going to be able to stream it anywhere except maybe on YouTube. Good luck. Okay, we need to keep moving. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. This one should be quick. Jurors help detain a man who flees a Maine courthouse in handcuffs So a man was convicted of assaulting someone and flees. I don't want to get into the context of it, but jurors basically stopped a person who tried to escape, but they were in handcuffs, so they weren't going to go very far. A series of videos shows Carter racing down a hallway, and this person, I'll just say their last name, nothing else, because I don't want to amplify their message. Other than, you're a dumbass, you got caught, and you deserve what punishment you get.
What's funny to me is I was thinking when I first saw this headline, like, well, wait a second, does this show that the jurors definitely think the person is guilty, but they'd already convicted him?
Yeah, so he can then be seen fleeing the courthouse, chased by several other individuals. Additional video shows Carter running across a parking lot and eventually appearing to trip and fall in a yard where 2 jurors and a detective apprehended him. Carter had been found guilty after a 3-day trial.
Okay, if you saw this in a show, wouldn't it seem almost comical?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I swear I've seen this. Yeah. Other than the context, I swear I've seen this.
Maybe that's what encouraged the defendant to do it. They saw it on a show once.
Yeah, they're going to be internet famous and prison famous.
It would be like a scene in Arrested Development or something.
Yeah, and I don't even want to get into the context of it, so let's move on. The next article is over in the Marble Channel. Boar's Head closing plant linked to the listeria cases, because apparently they can't find the problem with this. Boar's Head announced Friday that it was closing its Jarrett, Virginia production plant linked to this summer's deadly listeria outbreak. In a release on its website, the company said that it's been investigating for 2 years now, after it's at least 9 people died and more than 60 were sickened by a listeria outbreak stemming from liverwurst product at the plant. The company actually blamed the process, the liverwurst process. But you know what?
Oh, I didn't know that.
Liverwurst is produced all over the place, and nobody's getting listeria. So obviously your plant was technically dirty. But somebody I read online said that their dad used to work as one of the not investigators, but the USDA, like, would go in and do inspections. Yeah, he was an inspector, and touted that it was so clean that they could eat off the floor. Now, this was some 25 years ago or something like that. And so the only thing I can think of is that and I'm going to predict this. Okay, we haven't even looked yet. I'm going to predict this, that Boar's Head mergered in the last 10 years. So let's see. I don't know. I'd have to look. It's too hard for me to find it really quick. Because right now, all of the news is talking about...
All of the news is about the closure, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately. So, Lauren Irwin over at thehill.com put the article together, and it says in a release on its website, the company said that it's been investigating alongside the USDA after 9 people died and more than 60 people were sickened by the listeria outbreak. The Jarrett processing plant temporarily closed after the outbreak, and Boar's Head recalled 7 million pounds of product after the report of the outbreak. On Friday, it said that it made the difficult decision to indefinitely close this location. So here's what's going to end up happening. All of the people that were working there are either going to have to find another job within Boar's Head, or they're going to have to find another job somewhere else, right? So this is going to close down the plant instead of meeting compliance. The USDA released non-compliance reports from the Jarrett facility that dated back 2 years and showed the plant imposed an imminent threat. Records show that there was rusted equipment, green mold on the walls, live beetles in the hallways, dirt, screws, trash in the production areas, among other violations. And they basically said, we won't make any excuses, except that you're basically blaming everybody else there instead of cleaning up your act and continuing to produce product that meets compliance requirements and employing those people. So now you're going to push production somewhere else. If you use any of that equipment anywhere else, then you're going to move the potential contamination somewhere else.
Exactly. And if this was so problematic, I'm assuming they produced more than one product there. Why wouldn't they have had problems with other products?
Don't know. The agency said it was looking to see if there were any other lessons learned that could be broadly applied to the ready-to-eat meat and poultry facilities across the country. It said it'll immediately implement several quality measures to prevent future incidents. The company said it'll appoint a new chief food safety and quality assurance officer, creating food safety and quality assurance programs, and establish a Boar's Head Food Safety Council comprised of independent industry experts.
I think my problem is that it's like, okay, there's a bunch of issues, but they don't really know what the source was. And so how can they not recreate that? Now, obviously, if it was specific to that plant, but that's really concerning.
Chipotle did it and seems to have walked away unscathed. I don't know. And my bigger problem with this is now the prices for anything from this company is going to go up. Competition is reduced because this isn't going to be producing. Others are going to be able to go, well, they're raising their prices, so we can raise ours too. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Four Wheel Tech. Boeing 737 MAX blows tires, braking hard to avoid takeoff collision with another plane. And Alaska Airlines Boeing 737 MAX aborted a takeoff at Nashville International Airport on Thursday. Straight up thought that this was going to be from San Francisco.
I mean, that would be expected.
The force put the wheels during braking, blew out the Alaska Airlines tires. That's wild. These things are designed not to blow out under a tremendous amount of force, but apparently they did.
And this is interesting, right? This is a potential collision, which is not the same as some of the other. I mean, we've seen that happen at other airports, but we've been talking a lot about problems with the actual build of the airplanes. But I find it fascinating that this was a 737 MAX, because there might be a defect in the tires or something.
Oh, wouldn't that be interesting that due to this, they discover that there's a flaw in the manufacturing of the tires. So, air traffic controller cleared Southwest Airlines Flight 2029 to cross the runway as the plane prepared for takeoff for Jacksonville. According to NBC, despite the blown out tires, the stopped plane got off the runway, but not back to the terminal. Alaska Airlines sent a replacement plane to fly all 176 passengers on board to Seattle on the same day, along with a refund and additional $1,000. I suspect it's to replace everybody's pants.
Right, yeah. What was that like in the plane? Particularly with the tires.
They went from 120 miles per hour to 0 to avoid hitting a plane.
Wow.
Yep. Let's keep going. The next article is over in Hachadias. Tesla semi-fire in California. You know, the one that shut down the freeway for 15 hours. It took 50,000 gallons of water to extinguish basically 5 residential pools, or 1/10 of an Olympic. 1/6. No. Yeah. It's 10% of an Olympic pool. I think it is. Because an Olympic pool is like 600,000 gallons.
Yeah, 660,000 gallons of water in an Olympic-sized pool, roughly.
No, 600,000 gallons. Yeah. So the National Transportation Safety Board said on Friday that a Tesla semi crashed last month, closed down an artery. Oh, it says right here, Interstate 80 for 15 hours. During that time, they basically dumped 50,000 gallons worth of water on that truck because it was a battery fire. And all of that water ended up runoff. So taking lithium with it. Laura Kolodny over at CNBC put this article together. Yeah, the rest of this, I don't know. Like the little key points. I don't know if any of Tesla's vehicles have ever been safety tested. My understanding is the semi-truck has never been, in that other Teslas have not.
Yeah, I don't think it has.
So,
but actually, a lot of cars have not been tested. I was surprised. I was reading a review of another car that hadn't been tested that is much more established than Tesla's.
yeah, luxury cars tend to not be safety tested. So the truck driven by an employee was headed to the company's battery factory in Sparks, Nevada, from a warehouse in Livermore, California. The incident closed down part of I-18 for 15 hours. I guess that was an actual Tesla vehicle, not one that's in use, like by a private company. It was an actual Tesla truck driven by a Tesla employee. So don't really care about their fab, but NTSB report confirmed that the Tesla driver assistance systems, which are marketed as autopilot and full self-driving in the US, were not operational at the time of the semi-collision and fire. So I guess they still don't really know what caused it to spark up, other than the collision itself. So a single vehicle collision, but with what? What did it hit?
Exactly. And it seems like, I mean, we know things can go kind of haywire with EVs for very basic things that happen.
Yeah, like water.
Exactly.
So let's keep going. The next article is over in Greenogram. Plagued by mosquitoes, try some bite-blocking fabrics. Scientists create textiles with just the right weave and yarn to keep biting insects at bay. For me, that would be called Inside. The article has a deck statement, which is what I just said, so I don't have to repeat that. But there's a close-up of a mosquito. Oh my god, really? Son of a... I'm not logged in, so I can't go. Anyway, they've created new fabrics. You won't run into this problem if you follow it out there, folks. Just follow the link through ohmTown. See, it's locked down. I can't.
Oh, yeah.
Without me logging in, it's locked down. So, anyway, I don't know if they go into detail about what that fabric actually is, but it's just knitted a certain way, and it is a certain thickness so that it stops mosquitoes from being able to pierce. So I'm going to keep going, though. The next article is over in Non Sequitur News. U.S. military aircraft part falls into school parking lot after a malfunction. We've heard about this before, right? Like the front of the boat falls off.
It was a copycat of the space junk or whatever. The boat. I wasn't thinking about that one.
That skit is hilarious, but it isn't a battery from orbit, but it's still an aircraft part, military aircraft part. So no injuries or damage have been reported, and the incident is now under investigation. The article is over at Newsweek. Lottie McGrath put the article together. Is it a Boeing? It is. I swear.
What in the world?
They're just flinging parts off all over the place.
I mean, have we hit every single part at this point?
Well, I used to joke about how
major
people
parts
from the military used to send parts of a Jeep back home, part by part.
Oh, right.
Right. That was a myth that people were saying. I don't know how true that actually is, but I bet if you were to gather up all of the parts that have fallen off of Boeing planes, you could probably build a pseudo-plane. Tail cone of a Boeing C-17 Globemaster III fell out of the sky and into the parking lot of Divine Redeemer School in Hanahan at 4 p.m. on Thursday. I guess God said,
you get a plane part.
The statement continued. The crew of the C-17 notified Joint Base Charleston and returned to base after a piece of the tail cone fell off during flight. A team recovered the piece of the aircraft, and no injuries or property damage were reported. Now an investigation is underway. How did they notice that it fell off and then be able to go back and get it?
Well, exactly. I wonder if they have sensors on each of the parts.
No way. That's impossible.
Seems too pricey and technically, difficult.
Trooper Bob Berries, a Navy veteran and traffic anchor for WCIV-TV, first reported the incident in a post on the website formerly known as Twitter, posting images of the tail cone lying in a school parking lot. Wow, a reviewer tells me her dad took these pictures, so they probably coordinated with the public. So it's just the tip. Oh my goodness. Let's keep going. Next article is over on Natch Ideas as well. That's a show all about business transformation. Now beanless coffee emerges, but does it taste any good? Startups. I'm starting to sound like Sean Connery. Startups launch drinks that look and taste like coffee, but they say they are better for the environment. Zoe Corbin over at BBC.com put the article together. They say that they're in a high-end coffee shop in a tech-heavy area of San Francisco, staring suspiciously at a cup of espresso. This is no conventional coffee. It's made without using a single coffee bean. It comes from Atomo, one of a band of alt coffee startups hoping to revolutionize the world of brewed coffee. We take offense when someone says that we're a coffee substitute, says Andy Cleach, who is begging for Streisand effect, I suppose. The chief executive of Seattle-based startup
Right.
Atomo, from whose pure beanless ground product, My Espresso, has been made. So you don't want your product to be so nebulous or nameless or unidentifiable to be referred to as a beanless ground product.
Right. Is it coffee?
Okay, here, it's a logic game. Is it coffee? No. Is it replacing coffee? Yes. Is it a coffee bean? No. Is it something other than a coffee bean? Yes. Would you say that it is replacing coffee then?
Yeah. Are they legally allowed to call it coffee? It's reminding me of the pizza skit.
That's right. You can't call it champagne because it's not from the Champagne region either. Just like those cheeses. Somebody on the internet, a YouTuber, was actually challenged legally. I think they said they were going to get sued because they put a recipe for a type of cheese that you can only make that type of cheese from that region.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I forgot what that was, but
so distilling products and stuff like that, alcohol, the reason why everything is so damn tough is because people abused it. And that's why rules and regulations came into existence. That's why we can't have nice things. Because there were some abusive people out there that poisoned people by making something drinkable but adjacent to it, and then that ends up being deadly. So that's not what this is, obviously. This is Atomo's ingredients include date seeds, sunflower seed extract, and pea protein. So it's not even a single product. It's a mishmash of date seeds, sunflower seed extract, and tea protein. Or pea protein, not tea protein, but pea protein. Oh, and that's what it includes. Okay, so you're replacing coffee. So it's a coffee replacement. That's a coffee substitute, one might say. Anyway.
Okay. What does it taste like? Is it similar?
Yeah, so newcomers also argued that if scaled up beanless coffee could be cheaper than its conventional competition, but maybe people don't want cheaper, they want coffee. They want the flavor of coffee, they want a copy of coffee. And they're like, well, the prices are reaching higher level. Yeah, we know. But if it doesn't taste like coffee, and if it's being pushed as not being a coffee, then why sit there and compare it to coffee? A lot of big coffee companies are watching this field, say Cheyenne Yaretsian, a professor of analytical chemistry who heads the Coffee Excellence Center at the Zurich University of Applied Sciences in Switzerland. Jeez. Yeah, Director of Neil Hack, Director of Sustainable Coffee Partnerships at Conservation International, An international nonprofit welcomes the innovative approaches to tackling coffee's deforestation problem, but also doubts if beanless coffee will be able to make much of a dent. Well, not with the attitude that it's not replacing coffee. If it's supposed to replace coffee, lean into it. Tastes just like it, right? So, did they try it? Because it doesn't really matter. Atomo's ingredients aren't particularly high tech. And look, dear God, it's a chemistry lab. It has date seeds, Ramon seeds, sunflower seed extract, fructose, which you've already distanced yourself from a whole lot of people because nobody wants fructose. If it isn't natural, like fructose is the chemical name for sugar, basically. A sugar. Pea protein, millet, lemon, guava, fenugreek seeds, caffeine, and baking soda. So they're injecting caffeine into it because it doesn't come naturally. I mean, for crying out loud. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't know how this is actually going to reach anybody. So as for trying Atomo, both the coffee shop espresso and the brew at home version tasted close enough to good coffee for the author. Perhaps luckily for these companies, coffee can have many different undertones. That's not a raving review. I might try it just so that I can go, oh yeah, this is not.
Right. I mean, coffee, I know, has been under scrutiny because of some of the agricultural practices, especially in certain regions. So I'm not opposed to alternatives out there. But if it's so far removed from coffee, you need to call it something else. If it's so much like it, it needs to, like you said, lean into that.
Yep. The approach may prove closer match to coffee than surrogates like Atomo or Northern Wonder, but regulatory approval for such novel food takes time and money. There are also doubts the technology will be able to scale economically. That's because there's a cell-based coffee startup, includes Swiss-based Food Brewer, US-based California Cultured, and Singapore-based Another. Different places doing different things. I don't know. Whenever you hear somebody say bioreactor, that is a kind of turn off. At least for now.
Yeah, I would say so for anything related to food or beverages.
Yeah, that's kind of a shame because I would like to get away from animal. I mean, who cares if it's legit and it doesn't have any health problems? Then I would rather no animals be harmed in the production of food.
Right.
But the alternative is a slab of whatever it is from a bioreactor. It's just really not. I'm not chomping at the bit to really go and eat bioreactor cow. Moving on. Next, and our last article for the Time Machine episode is over on Stock Marketeers. US Open sells record $12.8 million worth of the Honey Deuce drink. How prices for the drink stack up against inflation. The article is over at marketwatch.com. Weston Blasey is the author. The cost of the famous tennis-themed cocktail have been raised 6 times since 2012. That's what it looks like. This is actually a plastic glass thing, whatever you want to call it. You can actually do a search for recipes for it, but it says the drink is made of Grey Goose vodka, raspberry lemonade liqueur, and honeydew. Has become so popular over the years that they say 557,000 of them were sold at this year's US Open. I don't know how that can happen. How many days is the US Open?
Oh, I don't know.
It's up 100,000 from last year. That's because everybody needs to be drunk off their gourd. And that interest is despite some fans becoming...
Oh, it's for 2 weeks.
2 weeks? So they... like 275 per thousand per week were... That's a lot.
Seems like an awful lot. But also, I'm sure they sell more in more recent years because of climate change, right? The temperatures have probably been spiking.
Yeah, people are trying to drink to stay cool. Well, the price of the drink, it's increased again this year to $23 from $22, up 4.5%. Or a buck. You could just say a buck. Went up a buck. Anyway. And
well, they actually have the stats, though.
Sure. How did they? Is that what you said?
No, they have the stats down below here.
Oh, right.
Oh, interesting. Look when it started really spiking.
Oh, yeah. Huh. Yeah, it almost, like, it's really amazing. Right a year, right when the pandemic hit, it just shoots through the roof.
And of
this
course,
just
it's
goes
above inflation, too.
Yeah, $4 above.
But that's really interesting to see it in a graph there.
But it shouldn't be, like, adjusted to... Well, I guess they're adjusting it from its source. So it came into existence back then. I think it actually was a lot older, but that's when it came into vogue.
It was actually pretty high priced to begin with.
$14.
In 2012 was pretty high, but maybe not because that was a major event.
Yeah, I think at the major event kind of things, this is regular. Yeah, pretty wild though. A single drink, $23.
That probably takes what, like $1 of ingredients or something. I mean, that obviously you can't buy a bottle of something for $1, but
yeah, that right there is cheap. Honeydew and raspberry lemonade liqueur, that can be made real cheap. The Grey Goose vodka is obviously the most expensive thing, and even then, you can buy a whole bottle for $23. All right, folks. Well, you're going to be able to look at this little stat and go, oh my goodness. And when you take a swig of your honeydew and then set the glass down, when you look up, you'll be back at ohmTown's front page. I know, it's pretty amazing. Anyway, but that's it for today's time machine episode. I'm going to reset we're going to shut down the time machine and let it cool down for another time machine episode when we need it, but we're going to just catch up to real time, and we'll be back to do the September 14th episode of Non Sequitur News, and then right after that will be the continuity report. We're going to put Reality Hacker and
Wanted
on hold for today, and probably punt it to next weekend. We'll see what happens. Anyway, I am Mayor Watt, and the voice you're about to hear is the Sentient AI.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. Thanks for joining us for the September 13th Non Sequitur News. Stay tuned.
Bye. See you in a little bit.